Hey guys, welcome to another session of RBTL. This week, not a super big week in terms of update, but of course we have our event. We have a new banner coming, so we're going to talk about Tamarine in a bit. Quickly want to cover a couple things listed on this first page that I find more important. Money bag, goblins, as usual, and if you're new, this is a good tip for you, I think, but you obtain up to 500,000 gold, and that is multiplied by any buffs that you may have. So if you are sort of like a dolphin, a bit of a pay to play, and you have the monthly buffs, I think it costs like $5 and then $10 a month, you can get a bit of gold there. And then of course, if you are in a guild, make sure your guild buffs are up before you run this to get I think it's like 5% or whatever more out of the 500,000. So I mean, every bit counts. So just make sure if you are already benefiting or using the buffs, make sure you have them on before you take them out. It's just a little reminder. Sometimes, like I think once or twice I actually missed it without the buff, so it feels bad, man. Even though I usually have the buffs on, and I just take it out assuming the buffs are up. Powder of Knowledge shop is refreshing. They want to change it now to every 6 weeks instead of every 4 weeks. There's pros and cons, I think, to this, but I'm not going to talk about it too much. Just that 6 weeks means free-to-play players get to save up more, for longer. And then people who are waiting for the next rotation gotta wait 2 weeks longer. So I mean, whatever. This batch isn't terrible. I would say the 5-star artifacts are not super high priority. Shamadra staff is pretty interesting. Holy Sacrifice, some people really want to get that. I mean, I wouldn't even bother running Holy Sacrifice until you have a max limit broken one, so 100% proc rate. Border Coin, not super important. Wind Rider can be useful, but not very useful anymore. Voged and Says can't really benefit from that. Hellcutter, Adamant Shield, I would have to say I used to kind of ignore this one, but with C Armin's nerfs, I've been running Adamant Shield on my F Maya, coupled with an Aureus Crow, because one, I don't own C Armin. But in a way, it's a bit better because F Maya is much more of a damage sponge than C Armin. I think C Armin has different types of utility. But if you have an Adamant Shield on, it acts like C Armin's passive, so it's kind of cool. Toggle's Ancient Book, of course. This is a very big one, especially if you're in PvP. Getting those souls on the first turn is very important for some setups, but only for the offensive teams, so attacking teams, since you can't soul burn on a defense team. But definitely good to pick up because the real-time arena is coming too, so you could throw off your enemies. If they aren't able to see what kind of artifacts you have, you can throw them off with the amount of souls that you may bring to the table or may not. They don't know. Sasha is pretty good too, so yeah, not a bad one, but I think the 5-star artifacts compared to the previous couple rotations not as important. And before we talk about Tamarine, just a quick reminder of these buffs as well. So if you guys are reading the Stowe website, I'm not going to get into it, but we have hunt drops, rune drops, hunt drop, rune drop, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and with a 30% experience and gold increase on all days. So that's very good to take advantage of. I definitely recommend hunt on all days if you are just going for the experience and the gold, and of course runes if you do need them. Focus it on the Friday and Saturday. We got some daily. I don't know how to say this, but I think this is part of their moon festival, Chuseok. Really bad. Daily special event, but you get 3 leaves out of it, so that's really good. That's really good actually, and 10 covenant bookmarks. So make sure you just log in daily, and you could get it. So let's talk about Tamarine. So Tamarine right now at this current moment, even if there's speculations that DN, a limited hero, is coming back, and if you are a player that has missed DN, I know that a lot of people have told me that oh man, I missed DN, I hope she comes back, and now there is speculation that they might be coming back. I'm not going to dive down that speculation path, but regardless, even if DN comes back, Tamarine is not exactly a DN replacement. They're different, but I would say Tamarine is the better healer overall. Diane, I think, is a better buffer in a certain case, but I think Tamarine is a better Soul Weaver overall. She has the same heal mods as Destina, and in fact she kind of is like a combination, to me at least, a combination of Destina and Diane at the same time. So she we'll just go through a kit here. Fire, just to keep that in mind, she has very low base HP and defense, pretty decent speed, but she has really high attack. That was one of the complaints about her design, was that the star sign they chose for her has really high attack. Now, I don't think that's a really big problem, just because of how strong her kit is, like her skill sets, that if she is missing a bit of HP, it's actually not that bad. And then one thing to note that is for Tamarine, if you have flat stat HP rings, flat stat HP necklaces, coupled with maybe some substats of HP, she actually benefits from that more than like a 60 or 65% HP ring or necklace. All right, just to keep that in mind. So because she has such low base HP, with the new flat stat buffs, this actually really benefits her. I've seen a Tamarine easily get 15,000 plus HP now. That's very decent, because usually if you're going for all the stats that she needs, which is like speed, HP, defense, effect resistance, effectiveness, usually you're looking about a Tamarine about like 12,000, 13,000 HP, and those are pretty good Tamarines. But now she can easily get 15,000 plus with the new flat stat buff, so just keep that in mind. Her skill sets, again, very good, but we're just going to go through this. So it's kind of broken down. For those of you who may not be familiar with Tamarine, just going to explain it. The first two, Serene Tune and Sing Together, those are both S1. She has a form called Idle form, so you can see there in the parentheses, Tamarine on Serene Tune and Idle on Sing Together. She has two forms, so the forms dictate which effects are being applied to the skill on the S1 and S2. So just to keep that in mind. But for every single S1 on the Tamarine form, not the Idle form, S1 and S2, she reduces the cooldown for Shining Star, which is her S3, by 1 turn. Okay, if you awaken Mola, the S3, you reduce the skill by 1 turn. This is needed if you want to make sure that she can get her S3 or her Idle form by 4 turns. So by the 4th turn, she can transform, which is really good. So you really want to get that cooldown down. Otherwise, it will take 5 turns. It gives you an odd number. If you actually, it doesn't even say it here, but it should be saying cooldown 8, but like minimum 8, but then maximum is 9. It should be. Unless they shadow buffed her. S1, it heals the lowest health, so it's kind of like Destina, and it heals the same amount as Destina, same mods. She doesn't get more healing with the increase of Mola on the S1, so don't bother molaing Tamarine's S1, no matter how much you love her. It's just damage increase. Increases proportional allies max health, but only the lowest health is recovered. So yes, that's exactly like Destina, same heal mods. Soul Burn, it does the AoE. Greatly recovers health of all allies after attacking. So again, like Destina, it takes 20 souls to do it. Sometimes it's very useful, and you can do it in the Idle form, which is actually a lot more useful, I would say. So when in her Idle form, she dispels all buffs for all enemies. It's AoE, and then triggers a dual attack from an ally with the double attack. So if you guys actually watch my videos in GVG, sometimes I don't even run her with Assyria. We're going to talk about Assyria in a bit, because Assyria, a lot of people say that, oh, if you don't have Assyria, don't pull for Tamarine. Actually, no, not a lot of people say that, but some people might say that. Don't listen to that, and I'll explain that in a bit. But even in a recent GVG, I used a Tamarine just as a think about her as a fire healer, just a fire Destina. that if you give it enough time, she becomes really strong. So I wouldn't really run Tamarine on a defense team as a healer. For most of the cases, I can't think of any reason to do that. But if you're doing it for PvP on an offense team, she could be a very good healer even without Assyria, which is usually her partner. You know, people talk about the Assyria Tamarine combo. In PvE, she's very strong as well because of these skills that she has. So now that triggering the dual attack on the S1 sing together is very, very strong. I've been using a Tamarine in the Hall of Trials versus Kairon this past month. Luna usually my primary damage dealer, but I mean, given that 1 week with the Thief more damage, I think I used the Kairon as my main damage dealer. Triggering that dual attack is very good. Like it's very, very strong. If you are using a nuker like Luna or something like that, it makes Tamarine like so too good. So for Hall of Trials, it doesn't matter. I don't think it would really matter what boss I'll like fight, even if it's an ice boss in the future. I probably still might bring Tamarine just because her whole kit is so robust. I can't think of any other healer that can benefit since she's an attack buffer as well. Our S2, if in regular form, so Tamarine form, heals all allies. So this is proportional to the caster's max health. So again, if you do have those flat stat necklaces and rings like I talked about, with some HP substats in there, you're gonna really benefit from this. Now my Tamarine is still running on HP percentage, HP necklace and ring. It's just because I have an immunity set in there, so it's really hard for me to change it out until I find a perfect one. But I will be swapping her to flat given the chance. In her idle form, she increases attack for all allies by 2 turns and increases combat range by 50%, up to 50%. Doesn't say this here, but I think it starts out with a 30%, which is really good. You do have to mola it quite a bit in order to get to 50%. Highly recommend you max out her S2. You won't regret it. I don't regret it. Took me a while to do it. It took me a couple weeks because during the time I had Tamarine, I didn't have the mola refund, so I had to wait, but it was worth it. Every bit of, I think it goes like by like 2%. For a while, it's like 2% increase, 2% increase, 2% increase, and then goes up to 3%, I think, on the last two, if I'm not mistaken. Every single increase in percent, I felt that it was an improvement in Arena. And in GVG as well when I used her. Very, very good to have. And then of course recovers the amount increased to recover the HP proportional caster's max health. Again, this is AoE. The 2-turn attack buff is really good, especially if your heroes are really fast. So it has, just keep in mind that it does have a cooldown cycle. So as you can see here, it has a cooldown, it says 2. It does have a cooldown cycle, so realistically, all of your heroes technically should have up to a 4-turn attack buff, because you would go her S2 in her idle form, increase attack buff by 2 turns, go into her S1 to do a dual attack, and then end off with another S2. If your heroes are really slow, and I like running my nukers like Luna or something like that really slow, because I could benefit from the attack buff for longer since she laps my Luna. So I could go with the S2, get the increased attack buff, and then go S1, so 2 dual attacks. So 2 dual attacks on Luna is far more beneficial than getting her attack buff up to 4 turns, at least for something like Hall of Trials, where you're trying to compress the amount of turns you have, especially during the boss's stun phase, right? So, or paralyzed phase. So it's very, very good. So you could do like pretty much everything with her. That's why she is used again for raids. Very, very useful. She has pretty decent morale as well. So a must pull. And then on her S3, this is just what makes her so OP. It dispels all debuffs inflicted on all allies. So it's very, very recommended that you do run Tamarine on immunity set. So at least currently in the arena landscape, you have like people going like, with Dizzy, and sometimes it's counter Dizzy, like with Abyssal Crown or whatever. However fast Dizzy is, as long as Tamarine has immunity on, Dizzy can't. Or unless they run a stripper before her, but Dizzy can't put Abyssal Crown on her. So if she stuns everyone else, and Tamarine isn't stunned, then she can just use her S3 in her idle form, assuming you have Assyria, dispel all the debuffs on all allies, and then recovers your healer, recovers herself to max health, regardless of how much HP you have, and then grants an extra turn so she can begin to do her S2 or S3. So it's very insane, very, very good. And then at the beginning of the fight, at the beginning of the battle, the cooldown is at the 8. So that's why people usually say you have to run her with Assyria, since Assyria can reset the full cooldown. And I do agree that most of the time you would want to run them together if the space allows it. In Arena, I don't see why not. It's usually four player slots, 4 hero slots usually do allow you to have enough space to like run like a defense breaker, and then to a cleaver or 2 cleavers or something like that with a Assyria Tamarine combo. In a GVG fight though, that becomes more compressed since you do lose 1 hero slot. And yes, of course, 100% say that if you have Assyria, pull for Tamarine, but if you don't have Assyria, pull for Tamarine as well. If DN does come back, again, like I said at the beginning, she is not a replacement for DN, or DN doesn't replace her. Different uses, and sometimes I even run them together. So if I have like, let's say the DN does come back, and you do run them together, I'd say it's pretty strong combo. DN has a 3-turn attack buff, so you could use Tamarine strictly for the dual attack, right? So think about it this way. So if you have like, let's say Luna or another strong nuker, and you have Tamarine, think about Tamarine in that case with like DN or another attack buffer as another damage dealer. You have to look at it that way. So she is a healer, technically a damage dealer, and she strips buffs, she cleanses, and she does CR push. Just to note that the S2 CR push, if I haven't made this clear, the 50% is for all allies, including herself. So if you run her on, what's it called, the Megara's Tome, I think that's how it's pronounced. If you run her on Tome, you can increase that because if you have a max limit broken Tome at a plus 30, it's 30% combat readiness every time she doesn't use an attacking skill. So if you use her S2 with Tome, she has an 80%. So she can really do, in her idle form, really do her S2 into her S1 pretty much almost before your enemies can go. So it's very, very good. I usually run her on Potion Vial like 100% of the time, just because I feel that's the strongest thing for me, especially in PvP. But I do swap out artifacts on her. So many can be used for her. Shamadra Staff can work with her. Rod could be really useful for her too if you are fighting a Golem. Sorry, not Golem. Wyvern 11, and she's your like soul healer. Rod can work as well, but Shamadra Staff is really good too because it affects all of the heals that she has. So yeah, a lot of artifacts can be used for her. So I would say those 4 are probably the biggest ones. At least those are the ones I use. Like I swap around. So very good. So yes, good thing that we do have a pity rate banner, and I know that a lot of you guys like missed out the Eupheme banner because you're just like, oh, I really want Eupheme, but I think Tamarine is more important. And I would say 100%. Tamarine right now, use her for every single thing. Like I use her for so let's do the count. So farming, I don't think you really need her, but for GVG Arena, I use her in those cases already. I think she may suffer in real-time Arena just because people can ban either her or Assyria if you put them together. If you don't put them together, I don't think you could really use Tamarine in real-time Arena, but that's a discussion for later. PvP wise, yeah, I already said that. In the PvE hunts, I use her for Wyvern, use her for Golem, use her for Azimanic. And I did use her for Banshee too when I did the long Banshee run. So all 4 hunts, I have used her. And currently, because of the one-shot Banshee, of course, she doesn't really fit there. So I don't use her in Banshee, but every other hunt, I do use her. For Hell Raid, if I wanted to do a fast run, I would use her instead. But recently been doing the 45, 46 morale team, so she can't really fit there. And then regular raids as well, she'll work there. Hall of Trials, she works. Abyss, she's a monster in Abyss. I mean, she makes the Abyss monsters look like they're nothing. If you guys watch anywhere from my, I think, Abyss 70, 80-ish, all the way to Abyss 90, I've been using her with like another healer. She's that good. Definitely worth the investment if you're a new player and you haven't done all that content that I just listed, and you're trying to get there, like all the Hunt 11s and stuff. Get her. Pretty decently easy to build. I want to say she's super hard. And like I said, mainly focus on HP, defense, and speed. I would say HP and speed as the highest priority. Defense, of course, really nice to have for survivability. Effectiveness, really for the strip, and the effective resistance, so she doesn't get, like stunned or put to sleep or provoked, which is very useful. But I would say, like, for starters, speed and HP, two highest priorities. So however you can get the stats to do that, I would recommend it. So anyways, I'm gonna end this one here. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.